Concentration is the key thing in bridge, right? If you can somehow put this invisible cocoon around you so that nobody can break into it, but you're going to keep your concentration. And that was one of the things when I played bridge at a very serious level.
Analyze all of the hands.
It's my profession now.
Right.
I work in bridge. I used to be a lawyer. When one of the firms I was working for ran into difficulties, I decided I'd try and do something else. The only thing I was good at was bridge. Mm-hmm. And then incredibly, a couple of years later, a random phone call out of the blue asking me to be editor of Bridge magazine, which was great. I've just gone on since then. I've written about 40 books. I travel around the world, going to tournaments to help people out. I don't find it difficult to analyse bridge hands because I'm thinking about them all the time. What I really like doing is spotting a hidden possibility. Even if it's really too difficult for the human mind, bridge is such a fascinating game that you sometimes see something and see, wouldn't it be marvellous if somebody could actually do that? I was watching a hand yesterday that Klukowski played, very difficult hand. He was playing in 5 hearts. I just had this feeling that there had to be a winning line, and then I spotted it. And bear in mind, I can see all 4 hands, right? Which makes it a little easier. I thought the chance of anybody actually finding this line was probably about 1 in 100. And he did it.
Well, he's one of the best players.
He's one of the best players in the world. And there's a deal today from the seniors match between India and the USA. And I've written it up for the bulletin. You'll be able to read it tomorrow, where there was a very hidden possibility to make an apparently hopeless slam.
Who was playing it?
One of the Indians, right? There was another much simpler line, which if the cards had been in the right place would have worked too, but of course he went for that line and that didn't work. It was something really esoteric. It really is beautiful. You'll see the end position in the bulletin, right? Strangely enough, last year I wrote a book for Masterpoint Press called Bridge 365. And
What's that about?
What I did was I took a real hand from tournaments played around the world, one for each day of the year. They were all played on that particular day. They're either incredibly brilliant or very entertaining or very instructive. Some of the things I saw people do are absolutely astonishing. There's so much bridge played around the world every single day. The chances are there's going to be at least one brilliant hand played every day.
How do you find the brilliant hands?
I have to search. I look on the internet, right? I read newspapers. But I found a hand for every day of the year. I'm writing a sequel now, and it's called Bridge 366 because this year is a leap year.
Okay.
So we get an extra day. And in fact, it's fully up to date. I haven't entered the deals from the World Championships yet, but there are some really astonishing deals from this event. You can only publish one of them from each day, though.
There's been so many crazy hands. Actually, today I was dealt ace, 10, 9, 7. That card actually matters. 7th of spades, singleton, ace of hearts, void, ace, king, 5th of clubs. I open a spade and it goes past, my partner passes. I get a 2 diamonds to my right. And then I just put 4 spades on the table. I was able to make it. So,
right.
They got off to a diamond lead. My partner ended up with 6 diamonds to the king, but they had a singleton 8 of spades, singleton club, baby club, 5 small hearts to the 10 to go with my singleton heart. Clubs split well. If the clubs didn't split
these big
decently.
hands require a lot of sort of judgment because obviously most of the time we're much more used to seeing relatively balanced hands. I remember many years ago I was playing with Sandra
If you got off to a spade lead, I wouldn't have made it. If
right,
you got
I
off
wouldn't
to
have
a
made
spade
it.
I wouldn't have made it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't do that. Actually, I think, was that hand against the WBF vice president? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's possible.
Who it was.
Yeah, Eric Laurent, was it?
No, not Eric
one
Laurent.
One of the other VPs? Oh,
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, nice gentleman.
A few years ago, I was playing with Sandra Landy at a tournament in Brighton, and I picked up a hand with 6 solid spades and a 6-card diamond suit. And I opened a diamond. Sandra raised to 3 diamonds. It was a competitive auction. She raised to 3 diamonds, and my next bid was 6 spades, and she looked very perplexed.
Because she didn't have any.
Yeah, but she wasn't really that worried.
But aren't you worried then that they're going to lead diamonds and somebody will be void?
They might. They didn't, and they weren't.
Okay.
Right? But the reality was that what I needed to find out about the hand was whether or not partner had any help in diamonds. So once she supported diamonds, it was reasonable to suppose that we could make a slam barring a ruff. They tried to cash their 2 aces. I would have done the same sort of thing. But judging these big suited hands is extraordinarily difficult because the chances are both sides will have a fit. And some of the time you're just guessing.
Did you hear about my first hand of the tournament was against Peter Gill, and he opened 6 spades.
Wow.
Out of the box. I pass, and his partner now bids 7 spades. My partner has, I think, a 16 count, ace, king, and the 2 suits that Peter didn't have.
Yeah, in the 2 suits.
Her hand was relatively flat
Yes.
compared in this hand. The guy that bid 7 happened to have the queen of diamonds, which is what he needed to make the contract.
To make the contract, yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah, you come all this way.
And she doubled. So it was like first
Yeah.
board out.
Right.
It amused Peter immensely. But how many times does somebody even just open 6 spades?
I've seen 2 occasions where people have opened at the 6th level. One was a very famous Austrian player called Maria Earhart. She was a phenomenal player, very much in the style of Rixie Marcus. She was an Austrian. She managed to get out of Europe just before the start of the Second World War. She came to live in England, and she was just a brilliant card player. Totally hopeless at bidding. You have to remember, bidding was nothing like as accurate in those days as it is now. The systems weren't so well developed, but she was a stunningly brilliant player. Very aggressive, extraordinarily aggressive. Rixie was the sort of player she'd open 3 spades and then think nothing of bidding 4 spades on the next round if it came back to it. And she was, especially in those days, she was so dominant that all the best men players were queuing up to play with her. She was the sort of England's answer to Helen Sobel-Smith. Yeah. Phenomenal. Don't make the mistake of thinking that women can't play bridge as well as men, right?
Yeah, Marianne Michelin.
Yeah, oh yes. We have some phenomenal women players at the moment, especially their card play is a delight to watch. There's nothing better than watching a magician at work at the card table. Rixie lived in England for the rest of her bridge playing life, and she was a real force in bridge.
I've noticed that there's a lot of bridge players that have played soccer. I played Premier in San Francisco Bay Area back in the day. Spatial awareness games.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of bridge too, is being able to puzzle out the cards and the hands and keeping it in your brain. And when you have a good spatial intelligence, that's what helped me in soccer. I always knew where the ball was going to be going. Yeah. And I was super fast and quick to be there and get there.
I think one of the things about bridge and chess are both sort of calculating games, right? You don't really need any great mathematical skill. It's so easy in both those games to make a mistake because the games are inherently difficult. Last year, while I was sitting in this tournament in Madeira, my partner and I bid a Grand Slam. It wasn't exactly clear that we would have 13 tricks, but it seemed on the bidding it was very likely. When the dummy came down, I could see there were 12 tricks, and there were possibilities of making an extra trick in various ways, but the most likely was a squeeze, and it was probably going to involve a double squeeze, and I had some information because one of the opponents had bid, and had clearly bid on very limited values. But it was complicated because there was a specific order in which I had to play the cards. It was taking quite a long time. The cards lay exactly as I worked out they were. When we came down to the sort of 4-card ending, I had to discard something from my hand, and I was ready to throw away a club because I didn't need that. I threw the club onto the table, or played the club onto the table, except for the fact that the club that I'd played on the table was the 10 of hearts, which was actually the squeeze card that I needed to keep in my hand. These
so you
things
lost your concentration.
Yeah, right, yeah, and it's so easy.
And
Concentration is the key thing in bridge, right? If you can somehow put this invisible cocoon around you so that nobody can break into it, but you're going to keep your concentration. And that was one of the things when I played bridge at a very serious level, I was able to do. I could divorce myself from everything else that was going on and just concentrate on the bridge. It's the very, very first time I represented England at international level at bridge. Our very first board was a Grand Slam. That's the sort of thing you tend to remember, isn't it?
And did you guys make it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that
You
was
bid it and made it.
Yeah, that was in Cardiff against Wales. Of course, the second hand was another slam, which we didn't bid.
Why are they doing that? That was the same thing. The first day that I got here for the transnationals in the pairs events, it was crazy. They were like, we're having a goulash set.
We use very good software here for dealing all the hands, right? It's tried and tested. It replicates what would happen in real life if you were dealing the cards. But when you shuffle the cards at home or in your club, you don't do it in a sort of totally random way, right? And of course the computer does, it's random, it replicates the real odds. That's why a lot of people struggle with the wilder hands, because they're not used to seeing them. If you go to your bridge club and shuffle, you'll get triple four threes.
BBO, so when I was learning bridge, it's been a long time since I've done one of those goulash games. It's been well over a decade or a dozen years. But I used to do a lot of the goulash games on BBO,
Right.
and it was almost all, it seemed to me like Eastern European and Middle Eastern players, but yeah.
They're very fond of goulash tournaments.
Yeah, there was like, I can't remember who hosted them even. It's been so long, but yeah, so I love it. I love shapely hands. I can see the possibilities in them, and yeah.
We
so
used
it
to
makes it
call a
fun.
shapely hand a Marilyn Monroe.
Oh my gosh, I should show you. I have this great picture of Mae West. That's super cute with a cute bridge quote that she had. What advice would you have to a beginner player?
Read as much as you can. Take every opportunity to sit behind someone you know to be a good player and watch what they do. The way to get good at this game is to read and to listen very carefully to what good players tell you. Don't be afraid to go and ask somebody famous for advice. I promise you they will be delighted to help you.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I've been trying to encourage people but I think a lot of more beginner players are too scared to talk about their mistakes. The quicker you get over feeling stupid or being upset about your mistakes, bridge is a journey.
Yes, it is.
Right? And
don't worry about it. Remember, once you've finished the board, no matter how bad it was, it's gone. It's history.
And on to the next one.
Concentrate on the 13 cards you can see in front of you this time. It's easier said than done.
No, I know. It's hard. So thank you so much, Mark.
It's been a pleasure, Tracy.